Hey everyone, I want to talk a little bit about relative pronouns because they seem to be giving you guys some trouble. So in the chapter 16 grammar, you have an introduction to relative pronouns, and then you have some printable handouts. I'm just going to go over the introduction, and then I'm going to switch to a Word doc and show you some stuff. So first of all, you have a main clause, a relative clause, and an antecedent. The main clause of a sentence is an independent sentence on its own. A relative clause is a dependent clause that describes a word in the main clause. It also contains a relative pronoun. You cannot have a relative clause without a relative pronoun. The antecedent, which I know seems like a scary big word, but it's not, is simply the word in the main clause that the relative clause describes. It shares its gender and number with the relative pronoun, but it has its own grammatical job in the relative clause and could be anything from the subject, anything a noun can do, subject, possession, direct object, etc. In English, when we talk about the relative pronoun, it's who or which. Let's look at some examples here. So the boy who is sitting in the corner is really cute. Who is the relative pronoun? Who is sitting in the corner is the whole relative clause because it tells you which boy is cute. You should be able to take out the relative clause, who is sitting in the corner, and have a complete sentence. The boy is really cute is the complete sentence, so that works. Pompeii is a town in which many people live. In which many people lived is the relative pronoun because it describes the town, or the relative clause because it describes the town. Pompeii is a town is a sentence by itself. In which is a prepositional phrase. So in this case, which would be the object of the preposition in. Up here, who is sitting in the corner, who is the subject of is sitting. So who would be nominative. Let's look at the chart. So here are the forms of the relative pronoun. These three rows right here are the singular, and these three rows are the plural. You're going to need this chart in order to do your work, I promise. Here's how to translate the relative pronoun, and here are some Latin examples. I'm going to give you some of my own because the certain questions you're having trouble with are like these. So basically, you're given a Latin sentence, you're given a blank, and you're asked to put the correct relative pronoun in the blank. This is not the easiest thing to do, but it's not as hard as you think it is. So first of all, we're talking about Marcus here. Marcus blank and meo vicino habitat meus amicus est. The relative clause will always be set off by commas. So the relative clause is everything from the blank to habitat. It usually starts with a relative pronoun and ends with a verb. We need to figure out what to put in the blank. Now, one thing that you weren't told is that the antecedent is always the word right in front of the comma. So the relative pronoun comes right after its antecedent. So in this case, it's Marcus. Marcus is singular and masculine. That's gender and number. So we're going to find a singular masculine pronoun. If we look at the chart again, let's go back to our chart. Singular masculine goes only to this list right here. It narrows down. It cuts out everything else, singular masculine, because Marcus is singular masculine. Now we have to figure out which one of these singular masculine ones goes in the blank. Let's look at the sentence again. Marcus blank and meo vicino habitat meus amicus est. Our verb habitat is singular also. It needs a subject. If we put qui in the blank, which is nominative masculine singular, and then we translate it, let's see if it makes sense. Marcus, who lives in my neighborhood, is my friend. So qui is the subject of habitat, and it sounds fine. Let's look at some other ones. So here's Marcus again. He's still the antecedent. We're still in the masculine singular column. But our verb is first person singular. Our verb means I saw. So Marcus, you can't say who, you can't say qui, it can't be nominative because I is the subject already. So how would this work? Marcus blank and foro hodie vidi meam sororum amat. Marcus blank and foro hodie vidi. Marcus, I saw blank in the forum today, likes my sister. This refers to Marcus still. It's still masculine and singular, but in this case, it's going to be accusative. Marcus, whom I saw in the forum today, likes my sister. That makes sense. Poem is the direct object of the verb weedy. This one's easy. When you have a preposition, it's the pace that the preposition takes. Whom takes an ablative. Marcus is still the antecedent, so Marcus is still going to be nominative. No, line. It's still going to be masculine and singular. Now it'll be ablative because cum says it has to be. Cum quo. Whoops, that didn't work very well. So Marcus, with whom we went to the theater today, did not like the play. Another one. Marcus blank mater erat amica mei matris est romanus vir. Well, mater is already nominative, so our pronoun won't be. Mother was a friend of my mother, is what this says. What is this describing? Well, you can't say to whom mother was a friend of my mother. You can't say who mother was a friend of my mother. It's going to be dative. To whom, or I'm sorry, it's going to be genitive. It's going to describe that Marcus, this is his mother. So Marcus, whose mother was a friend of my mother, is a Roman man. And finally, 80 is I gave. Marcus blank multum pecuniam I gave. So Marcus blank much money I gave. Bought much food in the forum. So clearly, if Marcus bought much food in the forum, you gave him the money. So if you give someone the money, if you give something to someone, the to someone you give it to is dative. Again, masculine and singular because Marcus is, but this time it's dative. So Marcus, to whom I gave a lot of money, bought a lot of food in the forum. I hope this helps you get through the exercises a little better. If you have more questions, please let me know.